Okay. So those were the two biggest trades. So there was literally about maybe 10 other trades that happened today that impacted so many different playoff teams and particularly contenders. But let's just focus on teams who are trying to get to the finals. And let's start with the West Coast. So, and we're going to leave out the Warriors for now just because the Warriors will talk separately. But the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, and the Clippers. So, okay, so the Nuggets, they traded Bones Hyland and they all for picks, and they also traded for Thomas Bryant, which we spoke about with the Lakers earlier. The Grizzlies traded for Kennard, ironically from the Clippers, trading within a rival conference in the playoffs. That's interesting. And then the
They're all
Clippers,
rivals in the playoffs to some degree.
yeah, and then the Clippers traded for Eric Gordon and Plumlee. So, which team do you want to start with?
Let's start with the Clippers. Just because I think they got the most, I guess, well-known player in the league in
Mhm.
Eric Gordon. And
Oh, and they also got Bones Hyland too.
yeah,
Forgot
the
forgot to mention.
shorten up their guard play. I guess they didn't. Yeah, it's quite interesting. So they essentially traded away Luke Kennard. They also got traded away Reggie Jackson to the Hornets for Plumlee, who's probably going to get bought out. And they also traded two second round picks to, I guess, to replace Jackson with Bones Hyland, who's has played really well for the Nuggets. So I think in a way that the Clippers got younger, slightly younger, and then also having, I mean, they got younger in terms of some players, and they added more experienced players like Eric Gordon to have a more of like a pure. I would say he's probably going to come off the bench. At least
Probably so. Yes.
I would think so. He would come off the bench to be like their defined six man, to help with scoring efforts
Mm.
because he can pretty much do a lot of.
He's assuming healthy, which the Clippers are usually never healthy. He will come off the bench because they start right now. They start Terrence Mann, Paul George, Kawhi, Morris, and Zubac for the most part.
Yeah, so quite interesting. He's coming back to the Clippers.
So let me say this about the Clippers in terms of the talent that they brought onto the roster. Great talent, like Eric Gordon, super helpful. He can literally help almost any playoff team. Bones Hyland has potential to be an amazing scorer. Mason Plumlee has been played relatively well this year. Pretty decent backup big. Having said all that, I do not think this helps the Clippers much. And the reason why is the problem, one of the main problems the Clippers had prior to this trade was they had just too many guys to play, too many quality players to play. And the better trade that they should have done is more of a consolidation trade because you still have the same problem you have because sure, you have Eric Gordon and Bones Hyland coming off your bench now. That's great. The problem is you also have Nicholas Batum, Covington, Powell, and was it Amir Coffee as well. You have so many players, and these are all wing players. These are all perimeter players. So most of them overlap, right? So I don't know what the trade would have been, but it would have been so much better to consolidate your assets to get a really good point guard or a really good center, backup center, whether that's trying to go for Yucca Purtle, trying to go for Mike Conley, whatever it is.
They
But you
definitely.
you basically just swapped out like quality players for other quality players. So the talent that they have on that roster is still very top notch. And I would argue that on paper, their roster is better it was today compared to yesterday on paper. But just in terms of the problem that they have, they still have way too many mouse fees. And Bones Highland, like he wasn't getting a lot of minutes in Denver. He's not gonna get a lot of minutes or shots. keyword, he's not gonna get a lot of shots in LA either, right? So I feel like, and if this was like the summer, then at least they have a full season to like figure out how to play, which lineups work well, which pairings works well with which pairings. But because they have 25, 30 games left, figuring out which rotations to have with so much talent and so many players that deserve a lot of minutes, I feel like this isn't really going to help them much, in my personal opinion.
I mean, I think it depends. I think they've gotten younger in the guards, and also they did need a big, and so that's why they kind of somewhat consolidated by getting rid of Reggie Jackson for Conley. I'm sorry, not for Conley, for Plumlee.
Uh-huh.
For Plumlee, just to add another quality big onto the team. So there's that, and then in regards to the playing time, they also traded away John Wall, which leaves a hole in terms of guard that could lead to more minutes for Hyland or any other guards they may have that could help fill that spot as well, right? Maybe more minutes to Powell, more minutes to, yes, yeah. I mean,
See, but that's the problem, right? That's the problem. There's so many guys to give minutes to, right?
I'm looking at the roster right now. I'm like, well, that's kind of tough, actually. Now that I think about it, but I think this is a good opportunity for Hyland to get more touches. So we'll see what happens if this happens. If they give him more minutes, and also you need minutes for Gordon too, which he's obviously going to get a good chunk of minutes. So this is kind of figure out the minute situation. But I do think Hyland will have a lot more opportunity, considering the way the team is currently playing. I mean, just yeah.
Yeah, I personally think it would be so hard for him to. I think the minutes will be there. Just getting shots will be difficult because Kawhi, Paul George, Powell, Eric Gordon, Morris, like all these guys are just gonna shoot, right? So at least on Denver, even though Denver didn't play him that many minutes, like
Terrence Mann.
Like at least like Jokic is gonna try to get folks shots, right? It's much more ball movement type of offense, whereas with the Clippers, it's not really the case. It's a very I don't want to say ISO driven offense because it's not really ISO, but there's not a lot of ball movement. Let's just say it that way, right? So
right.
Wait,
which is why I mean we haven't touched upon this yet, but that's why they're probably going to be looking for a guard in the buyout market.
Yeah, but now that just adds to the problem, right? Now you have another guy that you got to give minutes to.
Right, but I mean, they're gonna probably add a veteran player, I would imagine, because at the end of the day, their issue right now is probably I think size potentially could be an issue for them. I mean, I think size is going to be an issue for them for bigger guys other than Plumlee, right? Who else can they really play? Like
I think
and then Plumlee as a backup center, but they're both okay players, so potentially they I mean I don't know what they want to do, but I think their most glaring need is a guard, as you mentioned, right? They don't really have a fluid offense, so
yeah,
they need a guard who can run an offense basically. Like they need someone like Mike Conley. Like if Mike Conley was traded to the Clippers, he'd be a perfect fit because they need someone to kind of like manage an offense.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the Memphis, the Grizzlies. So they received Kennard from the Clippers. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's literally what they needed. They got a great 3-point shooter. It's a smart move for Memphis. They gave up 3 second-round picks for Kennard, and he fills their need for more shooting. So I think it's a good move. Good move for Memphis. Nothing else to say about it. It's a solid move for Memphis.
So, fun fact on the Grizzlies, they have 11 players that they drafted on that roster. So it's very rare for them to trade / sign a free agent at all. So they have 11 players that they drafted. So agree with you. Kennard helps them.
Does it move the needle? Probably not, but
it moves the needle in terms of like it makes it easier for like how do I say this? It moves the needle in terms of they won't go 7 games with Minnesota again because there's more balance to the roster, right?
Right.
But in terms of like beating like the top tier teams, it doesn't move the needle that much. But in terms of like finishing off lower tier teams, it helps them in that regard. That's probably the best way for me to phrase it. It does help them. How much? We'll see. But that's basically what I have for Memphis. I don't know if you want to go deeper
There's
into
really
it.
nothing else. I mean,
Okay.
we already covered everyone else that's part of this.
Okay. And then the Nuggets, they get Thomas Bryant. In my opinion, they basically just got a better backup for Jokic than DeAndre Jordan.
That's about it. He's a better scoring. He's a better scorer than Jordan.
Yeah. It's kind of the same argument to a lesser degree. It's kind of the same thing for like the same situation as Memphis. It helps them in the playing against lesser teams, especially in the first round where you have a quality backup big. But when in the playing against the top tier teams, probably won't help you that much just because you're gonna play Jokic more minutes anyways.
Right.
The only thing is they only have Murray and Ish Smith as point guards now. I mean, if you include Jokic as a guard, then sure, but they're a bit more thin now at the guard spot. So that's the only thing. I think it's minor, but that's probably the only thing. I think it was more. It's more important to get a quality backup big than it is to get a third point guard. Basically, what I'm saying. So I think even though the backup guards is a little bit concerned, having a solid backup big is better than having a third guard. So
especially with a lot of guards in the buyout market.
Yeah.
Foresee to be in a buyout market like Reggie Jackson, I think would be a good fit on Denver if they make room for him. Like I just think it would make sense. So I don't think a lot of teams needed guards or needed to trade for a guard. So